Got a lot of apologies to make. Nothing's been the same since New York. You experience things, and then they're over. I can't sleep. And when I do, I have nightmares. Honestly, there's 100 people who want to kill me. I hope I can protect the one thing I can't live without.
If you're reading the trade press last week, you may have noticed that Iron Man has been declared to be the most successful screen superhero of all time. Why? Well, Iron Man 3 has just hit the $1 billion mark in terms of its global box office. That's absolutely huge. In terms of superhero movies, that makes it second only to Avengers Assemble. But of course, Avengers Assemble includes the character of Iron Man. So technically, it's Iron Man which is the key to its success. Therefore, technically, Iron Man is the most successful superhero of all time. Well, it may not come as a huge surprise to anybody, but it started me thinking about screen anti-heroes. You know, not the superheroes that everybody thinks of, like we've got a new Superman movie coming, the Spider-Man movies have done very well, we know about Iron Man and the Avengers, but what about the anti-heroes? What about, for example, Kick-Ass and Hit Girl in Kick-Ass, which I really, really liked. Coming soon, we have Kick-Ass 2. No idea what that's going to be like, but Kick-Ass itself was a very interesting case. Initially, because it was so offbeat, because it was so left field, they couldn't get a studio to produce it the way they wanted to give them the money, but allow them to do what they wanted to do. So they made it independently and then sold it for distribution. And of course, it became a moderate hit. A hit enough to mean that we now have a sequel coming. Fingers crossed for that.
Aren't you tired of being on your own? Don't you want to belong to something bigger than you?
Together we can make a difference.
Hell yeah!
We have to wait and see what Kick-Ass 2 is going to turn out like, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. Around the same time, there was a funny, weirdy little independent movie which didn't do very well, understandably, because it isn't that great, called Super, with Ellen Page as Bolty and Rainn Wilson as the Crimson Bolt, which had a very similar idea. Two slightly strange, cracked people dressing up as superheroes for their own crime-fighting purposes. Came out pretty much the same time, totally overshadowed by Kick-Ass, and it's not hard to see why. And that got me thinking back to things like, if you're old enough to remember Condor Man, Michael Crawford and Oliver Reed together at last. Condor Man was one of those films that when it came out in the cinema, nobody was quite sure what to make of it. You thought, is it meant to be funnier? Is it meant to be more serious? It doesn't really work on any level, but I still have to see it because it's Michael Crawford as a condor. And then, of course, in the back of all of these, we have the Ray Dennis Steckler film from the 1960s, Rat Finker Boo Boo. The stories about how Rat Finker Boo Boo came about are numerous. According to one story, the film was originally meant to be called Rat Fink and Boo Boo, but somebody missed off some of the letters from the title, so it ended up as Rat Finker Boo Boo. What we do know is that Ray Dennis Steckler started out making a straight film, a sort of crime thriller, and after about half an hour of footage, you thought, this really isn't working. What are we going to do? I know, we'll just get two of the characters to run out of the room, dress up as superheroes, and then change the course of movie history. Of course, my own personal favourite super anti-hero is Howard the Duck, the film which everybody still talks about as being a massive flop, a total disaster, a catastrophe, an embarrassment, a blot on the landscape of the Lucasfilm filmography. I still think it's really great. Personally, I think it's one of the best movies that George Lucas has his name on. I'm not saying it's a great movie, I just really like it. And I still live in hope that one day somebody will manage to bring to the screen the extraordinary character of Ambush Bug. Ambush Bug, whose origins, as you may know, planet dying, character decides not to save his son, but to save his wardrobe, which is then intercepted in space by a radioactive spider. Leaves behind a suit and an Argyle sock. Very hard to film, brilliant to read on the comic strip page. So my question to you is this. Who's the best super anti-hero? The most offbeat, the most left field, the weirdest, the strangest, the one that you love the most, the one that probably hasn't taken any money, that could not hold a candle to Iron Man in terms of box office, but still has a place in your heart?
Hit me. You're a 15-year-old girl.
This 15-year-old girl just owned your ass.